Would you have liked to have seen your designs for the monorail used as transportation in large urban areas?
That's another interesting question in that my truthful opinion of monorails is that they are really not very good. And the reason I'm saying that is I've designed 4 different generations of monorails. And the reason we have that monorail in America today in the Disney parks is because Walt wanted it in the worst way, and he accidentally ran across it in Germany. The company in Germany that was developing it probably would not have gone much past the late 1950s or early 60s trying to develop this type of design because it has so many inefficiencies and limitations. Now stop and think a minute. On one hand, people look at the monorail either at Disneyland or at Walt Disney World and say, God, that's the future. And the reason for that is Walt wanted this train. I thought the German train that he showed me a picture of was so ugly, and the challenge was just to make a good looking train. Well, I accidentally made a train so advanced looking that the idea of this thing sitting up on a beamway gave the impression that this is the great big beautiful tomorrow of transportation. It is coming. I mean, it's stolen right out of Buck Rogers, a rocket ship on a tall, thin beamway in the air. But when you actually get to looking at a vehicle for transportation and stop and think how stupid a German saddleback monorail is, that within the total volume structure of the vehicle, you have to have all of the structure of the vehicle, which is cut out in the bottom because it has to straddle the beamway. So in other words, it's an inefficient structure because it's open. Then it has a lot of window space, which means you can't really build it like an airplane where you have a monocock structure that can be very efficient. You have this structure that has to be in all these places where there's nothing but openings for doors and windows and the bottom of the train. Inside this vehicle shape, you also have to have the entire road suspension. Not only wheels to support it, but wheels on the side to stabilize it. So you carry a lot more suspension weight and volume than you normally would have if you had a road vehicle. And at the same time, in that same volume, you have to contain the entire roadway that it runs on. Most people don't think of a monorail in that way, that this is a hopelessly inefficient mechanism to design, and the smaller it gets, like in a small scale for like a Disneyland, where the people sit down and you don't have a full standing room, this becomes even harder to do in a smaller, tighter structure. Nothing has changed about designing monorails. The bigger ones, like in Japan, that are based upon the Alweg design, are structurally a little easier to do. Monorails also have a deficiency in that you can't carry near as much weight as far as fast on rubber tires as you can on steel rail. Another limitation is monorails don't have the ability to have high-speed switches because you literally have a track that you can run off the end of the beam if the switch doesn't work all the way. So you have a time loss of allowing a switch to totally switch and changing from one track to another. These are all limitations of a transportation system that have always been argued about when cities would look at a monorail. You can't get away from just plain simple facts. But Walt spent a lot of time showing off the Disneyland train to governments, visitors from all over the country, to say, here's an example of modern transit. And people would think it's modern because it looked modern, but I'm the designer, and I can tell you how inefficient it is. And we literally did it because Walt said, I want it.